Kini ang simbianan sa RPN Radio Philippines Network DXKS DXKS Jess Ochenta ang inyong Radio Ronda 5,000 watts nagsimbiya sa ikatulong andana sa UFCO Lim Building, Borromeo Street, Dakbayan sa Surigao. RPN Radio Philippines Network DXKS Jess Ochenta ang inyong Radio Ronda.
This is News Night, where we go above and beyond the headlines. I'm Pia Ontiveros. Tonight on the program, nearly 3 million Filipinos out of work in May amid higher consumer prices. The health department still waiting for a secretary detects almost 100 new cases of the highly infectious Omicron subvariants. And a boost to the country's chance for gold after competing for Canada. Filipino-Canadian swimmer Kyla Sanchez will instead raise the country's flag in international events soon. Thousands more Filipinos were out of jobs as the country grapples with the economic crisis. The unemployment rate climbs to 6%, or around 2.93 million people in May. This is higher than the 5.7% the month before. Underemployment was also worse in May, with 6.67 million Filipinos seeking better job opportunities or longer work hours. The rate was at 14.5%, slightly up by half a point from April. Underemployment was mostly prevalent in industries affected by higher market prices, such as manufacturing, fishing, and agriculture. Customers of power distributor Meralco are set to see lower charges after the Energy Regulatory Commission ordered another round of refunds. Melissa Lopez tells us by how much.
Good news for Meralco customers. Electricity bills will see a big-time refund for the next 12 months beginning July. The Energy Regulatory Commission, or ERC, has ordered the power distributor to return 21.8 billion pesos to consumers in overcharges from July 2015 until June 2022. That's equivalent to 87 centavos per kilowatt hour. For example, a household consuming 100 kilowatt hours in a month will see an 87 peso reduction, while those consuming 200 kilowatt hours will get a 174 peso rebate. This is already the fourth refund this year for a total of 1 peso and 80 centavos per kilowatt hour for residential clients.
Pag nagko-compute ng electricity rate, forward-looking ito, yung future. So, ang ginagamit, mga estimates din. Pagka sumobra yung estimate ng ERC, pinapabalik.
Meralco says the new refund takes effect this July, and it may be enough to bring down the overall electricity rate despite higher generation costs.
Sa tingin namin, batay dito sa mga kaganapang ito, ay posibleng tumaas yung generation charge. We think that the 87 centavos will effectively wipe out whatever increase may be forthcoming.
Meralco spokesman Josal Dariaga adds higher fuel prices, a weaker peso against the US dollar, and thin electricity supply continue to push power costs up. It's a welcome relief for Filipinos, even as many try to keep power consumption low.
Kung may refund, makakatipid yung maraming tao. Pabor sa amin yan.
Sa panahon ng pandemic, dapat ang kuryente ngayon is hindi mataas, dapat mababa lang. Kagaya ko po sa kinikita. Hindi sapat yung perang kinikita namin sa ngayon.
Bawas-bawasan ng paggamit ng mga ilaw, paggamit ng refrigerator, at saka yung mga malalakas na gumamit na mga machine. Kung maulan naman po, wag na yung gumamit ng electric fan para at least makatipid po tayo.
The ERC also assures the public won't have to pay the 22 billion pesos from a 2013 case which Meralco won before the Supreme Court just yet.
Hihintayin ng ERC ang official service ng kopya na medyo makakahinga pa tayo.
Pro-consumer groups have said they will appeal the SC decision to cushion the impact of higher prices on consumers. Melissa Lopez, CNN Philippines.
Now, an advisory for motorists in Metro Manila: don't be too complacent be on alert to obey traffic rules in Quezon City. Local authorities are monitoring violators through the no contact apprehension policy. George Cahilas reports.
UV Express driver Arnel Rala was at the Quezon City Hall to pay for a traffic violation fine. Rala admits he was at fault and the traffic enforcer made the right call in issuing a citation ticket. His concern now, what if the next time he'll be subjected to a no-contact apprehension?
Mas maganda yung enforcer para alam mo yung may violation ka talaga na Kasi pag contact, parang mahirap eh. Papadalhan ka na lang ng notice.
The local government of Quezon City has fully implemented the no-contact apprehension policy to traffic violators since July 1 after a 9-month dry run. They are using state-of-the-art cameras with artificial intelligence technology and night vision capability to capture, photograph, and record the conduction stickers and plate numbers of vehicles that violated traffic rules and regulations.
Ng motorista, pag alam nilang may nagbabantay sa intersection, ang tendency they have to follow the traffic rules and regulations. So, malilesen mo rin yung mga incidents on road crashes sa intersection.
Ideally, a notice of violation will be sent through email or courier service within 14 days or more, depending on the location of the violator. Motorists must pay the fines within 30 days upon receipt of the notice. You may pay online, in select banks, or personally at the Quezon City Hall. Disregarding the notices will further increase your fines, since a 5% surcharge will be added if not paid after 30 days.
They can come here and contest the violation and view na makikita nila kung paano sila nag-commit ng violation. And also, kapag naka-receive kayo ng notices, you can view doon sa website ng Quezon City Government NCAP program na meron, makikita mo doon kung paano mo na-commit ang violation. Ilalagin mo lang yung PIN number na binigay sa'yo.
The Metro Manila Development Authority has been implementing the no-contact apprehension policy since 2016. From January to May this year, the MMDA has recorded over 52,000 violations. Most of these violations are disregarding traffic signs and obstruction. Other cities in Metro Manila that also implement the no-contact apprehension policy include Manila, Valenzuela, and Parañaque. George Cahilas, CNN Philippines.
The health department reported 97 more BA.5 cases. This is on top of the 43 reported on Tuesday, bringing the total of 140 BA.5 cases found in samples tested between June 29th and July 4. Of the 140 cases, 4 of them remain in isolation. 129 are asymptomatic and have recovered. The agency is still checking the status of the 7 other patients. Most of these cases are from Western Visayas and Metro Manila. Others are from Calabarzon, the Ilocos region, Central Luzon, Bicol, Central and Eastern Visayas, Mimaropa, and Northern Mindanao.
Pero kailangan mag-iingat tayo sa pag-conclude dito sa ating mga nakikitang resulta. Ang ating genome sequencing process is being done purposively. Hindi po natin nakaka-capture lahat na nagpo-positibo sa ating bansa, and therefore, hindi lahat ng positibo ay nakakapag-undertake ng genome sequencing. Meaning, yung atin pong mga resulta might be biased, Kasi hindi pa ho natin nakikita yung kompleto for the rest of the country. Based from the recent sequencing result, pinakamadami ang BA.5.
Authorities add 17 of the recent 20 additional BA.2.12.1 cases have already recovered. These latest batch of patients with the subvariants are from Metro Manila, Western Visayas, Calabarzon, Cordillera, Ilocos region, and some returning Filipinos. Meanwhile, all 7 BA.4 cases reported on Tuesday have recovered. They are from Bicol and Metro Manila. Overall, the country has logged 8,248 new COVID-19 cases in the week of June 30 to July 8. That's an average of nearly 1,200 cases a day. No health secretary still exactly a week after Bongbong Marcos was inaugurated as president, but health officials say the president already gave instructions on how to improve COVID-19 vaccine coverage and the response to the pandemic. Mr. Marcos met with them on Wednesday. The officials, however, say details of the directives will be announced by the office of the president. When asked if the redefinition of fully vaccinated to include booster shots has been discussed, Health Undersecretary Berjeres says it still needs further studies and consultation.
So kailangan po ng patuloy na pag-uusap, kailangan din po ng konsultasyon doon sa magpapatupad nito. So we will be announcing through the Office of the President the directives, and also of course we will be supporting whatever the decisions would be. What I can tell all of you would be with the discussions yesterday at saka mga rekomendasyon nga po ng Kagawaran ng Kalusugan, naging very supportive naman po ang ating presidente. He discussed with us, binigyan niya po kami ng pointers at guidance.
The health department has repeatedly urged the public to take a COVID-19 booster shot if eligible amid the threat of Omicron subvariants. Iloilo City is prohibiting the entry of poultry and poultry products from areas in Luzon and Mindanao suffering from bird flu outbreak. That is for 30 days beginning today. Mayor Jerry Trenya says the move will help prevent the spread of the disease. Exempted from the ban are transshipments of day-old chicks, day-old pullets, hatching eggs, and imported game fowls from international airports and seaports. Trenya says he has received assurances of enough supply from local producers.
To protect the industry here in Iloilo, Panay, and Guimaras, the poultry operators came to me and told me that they are very concerned. According to the poultry operators in Panay, they will be able to accommodate the demand for Panay.
When asked if the ban could be extended, Trenya says it remains to be seen since they're having problems coordinating with the Agriculture Department, which is concurrently headed by President Marcos. Up next, the President abolishes some offices under his watch in his first executive orders. A look at what that means. And the manufacturer of a popular instant noodle brand insists it follows safety standards despite health warnings from 3 European countries. You're watching CNN Philippines. This is CNN Philippines. President Bongbong Marcos releases his first 2 executive orders abolishing some offices under the executive branch. Rex Remito explains why Mr. Marcos abolished the Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission as well as the offices of the Presidential Spokesperson and Cabinet Secretary.
Mag-shop na ng items sa Shopee dahil may Marcos earlier expressed concern about the government's funding for the rest of the year. And with the country not yet out of the woods when it comes to the COVID-19 pandemic, the administration says it says allocate resources as efficiently as possible. One way to do this is to streamline processes under the office of the president by abolishing some offices. Among them, the Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission or PACC and the Secretary and Presidential Spokesperson. The Office of the Deputy Executive Secretary takes over the functions and powers of the PACC. These include the administrative cases of government officials it has been handling. President Duterte created the PACC in 2017 to weed out corrupt officials. The Presidential Management Staff or PMS, meanwhile, will handle Cabinet Secretariat functions. The PMS assists the Chief Executive on its daily functions, including meetings and trips. The late President Noynoy Aquino reinstated the Cabinet Secretary's office in 2012. It was then independent of the PMS with the role of coordinating cabinet members. The palace says employees affected by the executive orders can get benefits under the law. Under Executive Order Number 1, the President also establishes the Presidential Advisor on Military and Police Affairs Office. Executive Order Number 2, meanwhile, reorganizes and renames the Presidential Communications Operations Office or PCOO to Office of the Press Secretary. The order also abolishes the Office of the Presidential Spokesperson. The PMS will take over management of Radio Television Malacanang or RTVM and the Philippine Information Agency under the President's office. Expanded media operations under his office by establishing the PCOO in 2012. There was also the now defunct Presidential Communications Development and Strategic Planning Office. Rex Remitio, CNN Philippines.
President Marcos marks first week in office with to address problems affecting consumers and the transport sector. The chief executive met with energy officials today to discuss surging fuel prices. Among those who attended were Undersecretaries Donato Marcos and Roberto Uy. President has yet to name his energy secretary. The Office of the Vice President is now offering medical and burial services in its satellite offices. The OVP says these services can be availed of through identified partner hospitals or direct walk-in applications. Applicants will be asked to submit requirements such as medical and death certificates. Vice President Sara Duterte opened 6 regional offices across the country on July 1st in a bid to expand the OVP's reach. These are in the regions of Ilocos, Central Visayas, Eastern Visayas, the Zamboanga Peninsula, Northern Mindanao, and Caraga. The Sandigan Bayan defers a hearing on a civil forfeiture case against the family of President Marcos over alleged ill-gotten wealth. The Marcos family was supposed to begin presenting evidence today. However, the family's lawyer asked the Anti-Graft Court Second Division for more time to prepare their documents and witnesses. The court gave the Marcoses another month to prepare evidence. The case was filed in 1987 involving Marcos family business associates, spouses Rebeco and Erlinda Panlilio. The Marcoses supposedly used the Panlilios as dummies in acquiring properties through loans from government institutions during the administration of Ferdinand E. Marcos.
It's not that we're not ready, but we have to be sure that what we present to the court will stand judicial scrutiny po, no? So it's not that we're not ready. We really just have to make sure that we prepare the best defense for our client. We'll have to check, no, because as you know, our client is the president, so he has other matters to attend to aside from this one. But we will consult with the court regarding that.
Pre-trial hearing is set on August 5. Congress opens session in less than 3 weeks. Amor Santos reports a supermajority is already taking shape in the Senate, while it remains to be seen whether the minority bloc gets more allies.
With efforts to form a supermajority in the Senate in full swing, the fate of the minority bloc appears to be in limbo. Senator Coco Pimentel, who wants to be the minority leader, says he has yet to meet with the Cayetano siblings. He's eyeing to do so before the opening of session on July 25th. Senator Alan Peter Cayetano earlier said the only way he could be a fiscalizer in the supermajority is by being the chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee. But the position has already been given to Senator Francis Tolentino, according to presumptive Senate President Mig Zubiri. Cayetano says he's still weighing his options. Opposition Senator Risa Ontiveros believes there may be a window of opportunity in the next 2 weeks, but she vows to ensure checks and balances in the chamber with or without new allies. According to political science professor Jean Franco, the minority needs to amplify its voice.
they are few in numbers, then what they need to do is really to get outside of the institution and gather support from different groups, because that's the only way you can do, and also from other party lists and more independent-minded members of the House of Representatives.
Meanwhile, for Zubiri, the daunting task of forging a supermajority is over. As he assures they won't be a rubber stamp of the Marcos administration, Franco says they have to prove it.
I get sleepless nights, I have anxiety attacks. So yes, siyempre napakahirap dahil it's a balancing act between wanting to please your senator members but also keeping the institution intact.
It's unfortunate that we have a supermajority, and usually when you have a supermajority, fiscalizing function of the Senate is compromised or weakened. It needs to be seen whether this incoming Senate will actually perform its function as a key fiscalizer of the executive branch.
Zubiri says key leadership positions are almost set in stone, and former Senate President Tito Soto agrees. Nothing, though, is official until elected by majority of the Senate. Amor Santos, CNN Philippines.
News overseas, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is set to resign following a rebellion in his Conservative Party. A Downing Street spokesperson says the embattled leader plans to address his country in the coming hours. Over 50 members of the British government have resigned to protest Johnson's leadership. The UK Prime Minister has been involved in a series of scandals that forced even his strongest supporters to abandon him. Johnson will remain in his post until his party picks a new leader. Back here at home, it is the turn of farmers and advocates arrested in Hacienda Tinang in Tarlac during a bungkalan or land cultivation activity to sue the prosecutor who handled the complaint against them. The group, they call themselves a Tinang 83, accuses acting provincial prosecutor Mila Montefalco of grave and serious misconduct, gross ignorance of the law, and conduct prejudicial to the best interest of the service. They argue Montefalco held inquest proceedings in an unfair and discriminatory manner. The farmers want the prosecutor relieved from her post and dismissed as a public lawyer. The Capas Municipal Court junked the malicious mischief and illegal assembly charges against the Tinang 83. The Food and Drug Administration is investigating some instant noodle products that supposedly have a high presence of a harmful chemical. That's after authorities in France, Ireland, and Malta issued health warnings and recall orders against Lucky Me instant noodles. The European country said certain Lucky Me products have high levels of a pesticide called ethylene oxide. Manufacturer Modenisin clarifies that it does not add the chemical in their products and maintains that they follow food safety standards. Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres says officials will only pull out specific batches from the market if the FDA finds harmful chemicals in them.
So kung ano man po ang matagpuan ng ating Food and Drug Administration na talagang with the presence of this specific component or chemical, yun lang po yung tatanggalin sa merkado. Pero katulad ng sabi ko nga kanina, aantayin po natin yung resulta ng investigasyon na sinasagawa ng Food and Drug Administration.
Vergeres says ethylene oxide may cause headaches, nausea, vomiting, loose bowel movements, difficulty in breathing, and fatigue. Sports and entertainment stories coming up on Newsnight. A Tokyo Olympic swimmer is switching from Team Canada to Team Philippines. And trending online are new projects under Netflix, including a live-action adaptation of a famous anime series.
Beyond bringing power to all, we're taking steps to produce and deliver Earth-friendly energy today and for our children's tomorrow. Powering the good life. Meralco.
Fried chicken? Timplang happy! With easy-to-cook Magnolia Chicken Timplados. Iba't ibang sarap ng chicken, kaya. Anong Magnolia Chicken Timplados mo? Iba't ibang easy chicken sarap. In your life, you have a star. So choose not sa baling barkada, GSM Blue ang kasama. We choose GSM Blue. Choose, choose, must strong. Dahil ito ang GSM Blue.
Sustainability, as defined officially, is addressing the needs of the present generation without compromising the needs of future generations. Urban expansion of Metro Manila, we cannot stop it anymore. But I wrote also in 1973, when I was a student, development is not worthy of a name unless spread evenly like butter. We should balance the development. I think San Miguel is doing patriotic and philanthropic infrastructure. So we are aligned in our love of our country.
Welcome back to Newsnight. Making headlines in sports, Gilas Pilipinas player William Navarro is taking his talents to the Korean Basketball League. Korean news site Jump Ball reports Navarro is suiting up for the Seoul Samsung Thunders. The former Ateneo Blue Eagle is set to join the squad after the FIBA Asian Cup in Indonesia, which ends on July 24th. And two-time Olympic medalist Kyla Sanchez commits to donning the country's colors after competing for Canada in the last 6 years. The Filipino-Canadian swimmer, however, must complete a one-year residency before she can represent the flag in international events, with a possible stint in the 2024 Paris Olympics.
Now that I'm older, I'm more independent, and I think now is a good time to bring what I do and what I love here in the Philippines. Freestyle, sprint freestyle events. That has been my biggest role on the international stage. So hopefully, and I know I will, improve through swimming here and in a new training environment. I want to achieve great things for the Philippines, so let's say gold medal, and you guys can hold me to it.
Sanchez made her international debut for Canada in 2016 and has since established herself as one of the most prominent Phil-Canadian athletes. Entertainment news now. Good news for K-pop and K-drama fans. The Korean reality show In the Soup, Friendcation, featuring V of BTS, Park Seo-joon, and many other stars, premieres July 22nd. The series will center around the so-called Wooga Squad, composed of 5 stars who met on the set of the drama Hwarang and became friends. It'll follow them as they take a vacation in the forest, or soup in Korean. The show will stream on Disney Plus, which is not yet available here in the Philippines. Netflix announces a bunch of new projects from the creators of Stranger Things that are now in the works. The Duffer Brothers are setting up a production company called Upside Down Pictures, which is creating a live-action series of the famous anime Death Note. The streaming platform has released a non-animated movie adaptation before, but it mostly received negative reviews. And expect more monster fighting in alternate dimensions with a spin-off of the sci-fi hit Stranger Things, also in production. The next season of the record-breaking series is the 5th and final one. Also making a buzz online, the trailer for Amsterdam, showing off an A-list Hollywood cast. Among them are singer Taylor Swift and award-winning actors Margot Robbie, Christian Bale, and Anya Taylor-Joy. The film revolves around 3 friends who must clear their names after becoming crime suspects.
We formed a pact, and we swore to protect each other, no matter what. Tax the rich. We find ourselves in a situation where we're accused of killing someone, which is not true.
Amsterdam, set in the 1930s, scheduled to land in theaters this November. And that is it for now. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
Kini ang sibianan sa RPN, Radio Philippines Network, DXKS. DXKS. Jess Ochenta. Ang inyong Radio Ronda. 5,000 watts. Nagsibya sa ikatulong andana sa UEPCO Lim Building, Borromeo Street, Dakbayan sa Surigao. RPN, Radio Philippines Network, DXKS, Jess Ochenta, ang inyong Radio Ronda.
The path to the Senate presidency is clear for re-elected Senator Juan Miguel Zubiri. After a near contest, Senator Cynthia Villar said she's dropping her bid for the third highest post in the land. Zubiri will join looming House Speaker Martin Romualdez, the president-elect's first cousin, in forming a so-called supermajority in both chambers. With Marcos allies dominating the 19th Congress, can our lawmakers make sure that they can effectively exercise the system of checks and balances in a democracy? Good evening, I'm Ruth Cabal sitting in for Pia Ontiveros. Welcome to your weekly political appointment fix, politics as usual. Our first guest, Senator Francis Tolentino, joining us via Zoom. Good evening to you, Senator.
Good evening, Ruth. Good evening to the viewers as well.
Senator, what do you think about what's going to happen in the Senate under the 19th Congress? First of all, Senate President, do you think Senator Mig Zubiri is a sure winner already?
Well, it has to undergo a final process, consultation, but I think if, as he claims he has the numbers, it might end up that way.
May ibang reports from sources saying 13 votes are needed, but saying 12 votes na daw. Sure na daw yan with Senator Zubiri.
That's what others are claiming. So I'm not privy to the initial discussions, but I think it's going to be that way.
Pero kayo po, sino-sino po? Kasi lumalabas na names, di ba? Senator Zubiri and then Senator Cynthia Villar. You have Chisa Escudero, Gatchalian. Sino po kayo ang napupusuan nyo?
Let us leave it that way. It's going to be a conclave of the senators deciding that. So I'll be joining the majority, rest assured.
But for you, what do you think would make a good Senate president?
A Senate president should continue to project the independence of the Senate. A Senate president should be able to be the cohesive band, so to speak, of all the 24, including himself, senators. The Senate president should be at the forefront of projecting not just the independence, but the proactiveness of the Senate in terms of coming out with effective legislative measures, especially as we are now coming out of the pandemic.
Some of those you mentioned, independence, yung ensuring cohesion, and being proactive. Do you think, tanong ko lang po, do you think Senator Zubiri has that?
All of them are qualified. All of them, if they rally behind a single person, will definitely have that. And Senator Zubiri, I think, can also project himself that way.
When you say also that you will be with the majority, ano po yung nakikita nyo ngayon? Kasi obviously it's going to look like a super majority both in the Senate and the House.
So majority in a sense that it will not be a majority that will be a rubber stamp. A majority that will, again, I have repeated this several times, a majority that would project independence, a majority that will work for the benefit of the Filipino people.
You mentioned earlier that there are still talks and usually pinagbobotohan, but we all know how it goes in the Senate na napag-uusapan na rin naman, and there are negotiations. Even sila Senator Cynthia Villar were saying, and even the minority like Senator Ontiveros were saying they are talking to other senators. Pero kayo po sa ngayon napag-usapan na rin yung mga committee chairmanships. Meron po ba kayong gusto na committee na i-lead po or to be the chairman?
I think I'm being offered the Blue Ribbon Committee, and I would strive to be a performer in whatever committee I will be placed. Rest assured.
But do you also, Senator Zubiri mentioned that he's looking at you to head the Blue Ribbon Committee. Kayo po ba? Gusto niyo po ba yan? And ano ang nakita niyong possible challenges?
Well, challenges is, you know how the Blue Ribbon Committee works. It's a combination of prosecutorial in aid of legislation and what have you. So we'll try to have if that will push through, we'll try to project the Blue Ribbon Committee as the prime Senate committee. But yung tanong mo kanina, if I have other committees in mind, definitely I have.
Like what, sir?
Siguro Committee on National Defense.
Defense. Okay. Yung isa pa pong tanong ko din, follow-up dito sa possibly heading the Blue Ribbon Committee. Kasi po, kayo po ay kilalang kaalyado ni President Duterte, and also you supported the unit team din po with President-elect Marcos. How can you ensure that your committee will be independent in conducting investigations?
I think my track record will show that. Definitely previous committee hearings, even though if I was not the chairman, I was able to project my independence. The most recent committee hearing probably was the stoppage of the online sabong. And modesty aside, I attended all hearings.
Isa po sa parang mapag-iwanan po ni Senator Gordon as chair of the Blue Ribbon Committee, itong investigation ng Senado sa Pharmaly. And Senator Risa Ontiveros is saying she's open to filing a resolution to possibly reopen. What's your stand on that? Reopen the investigation? Kasi hindi po nag-prosper.
It has to be a committee decision. First of all, I'm not the chairman. But you have to realize, as early as October 11, I have filed 6 or 5 bills relative to Pharmaly, all in aid of legislation. Even while the Pharmaly hearing was ongoing, I filed multiple bills to correct the flaws and deficiencies in our procurement laws. I've done that. The records will show. Stamp received by the Senate, October 11, 2021.
But Senator, may I just know, you're a member of the Blue Ribbon Committee dito under kay Chair Gordon, but you didn't sign the draft committee report.
Yes, but the purpose of the hearing was to come up with legislative measures. And as I have told you, ako yung nauna. Nag-hearing pa lang, palagay ko ako lang po yung nag-file ng legislative measures confronting head-on Pharmaly. Look at the records. Baka wala pang na-file yung Blue Ribbon Committee because of the report, pero ako as early as last year, ito lang sabi ko, ito yung kailangan baguhin batas, procurement law. We have to change the we have to change the procedure relative to Republic Act 9184. We have to change the warehousing rules. We have to change some provisions of the local government code. Yun na yung endpoint nun eh. And as a lawyer, ginawa ko yun.
Okay, sir.
Even as being a mere member of the committee, ito na yun, I deliver.
Limited time lang po tayo, sir. Last na lang po, if ever you will get to have the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, ano na po yung nakikita nyo ngayon na gusto nyong tutukan or possible investigations that you want to conduct?
Let's see. As early as 2 months ago, I've been saying something about the reported SSS net losses. Let's see how it will evolve.
Thank you very much for your insights and for your time, Senator Francis Tolentino. And we'll be back after a quick break. Stay tuned.
SMC, San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement. Gama sa Davao, para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement. Ato ni Bay.
And your host of Sulit to Win It, Mr. Luis Manzano.
Tanong ng bayan, bakit sulit ang BioFlu? And the top answers are, dahil kaya ang flu, lagnat, sipon, headache, body pain, ubo from post-nasal drip.
Ang dami!
Teka, may pahabol pa. Sore throat. Sulit! Winner ka sa BioFlu. Sulit dahil kaya all. Babangon ka sa BioFlu. Unilab yan. Phenylephrine HCl chlorpheniramine maleate paracetamol is the generic name of BioFlu. If symptoms persist, consult your doctor.
Protektahi ang imong mga mata batok sa delikado ug makadaot nga ultraviolet nga silaw sa adlaw ug uban pa. Pinaagi sa pagsulob og eksakto nga prescription sa antiyohos o antipara. Likay ang mga simptomas sama sa hanap nga pananaw sa layo o duol nga basahon, sakit sa ulo ug uban pa nga makaapekto sa atong kahimsog nga ang hinungdan depekto sa atong mga mata. Alang sa kumpleto nga primary eye care, contact lenses, fashion eyewear, computer eyeglasses, sunglasses, accessories ug uban pa, adto kita sa AG Buñuel Optical Clinic. Ang AG Buñuel Optical Clinic nagpahinumdum kanato nga ang kahimsog sa atong mga mata usa ka prioridad nga angay ipa-check up kausa matag tuig aron pagsiguro nga luwas kita sa piligrong mga sakit. Pinaagi sa lisensyado og qualified optometrists nga maoy mo prescribe sa eksaktong kagamitan ug kung primary eye care ang paghisgutan. Duaw lang silang buhatan sa 3636 sa Nicolas Street, Surigao City ug adunay ilang extension office sa Aurelianida Street, Cantilan, Surigao del Sur. Ayaw kalimti higala, AG Buñuel Optical Clinic.
Ang AG Buñuel Optical Clinic doon na branch dito sa lungsod sa Dapa sa may Lupis Haina Street, Poblasyon Dapa, Surigao del Norte.
Ang AG Buñuel Optical Clinic dinhi sa syudad ng Surigao no transfer na sa bag-ong location sa Nicolas Street, Ragyahapon, tapad sa Garcia Hotel at bang sa Unicity. Ang Riverside Parts Master Incorporated na sa ilang bagong location sa Dalan, Burgos ning atong syudad. Mahimo niyong tawagan sa telephone number 231-7478 or 826-3663. Mga produkto nga inyong mapalit, genuine, Makita Power Tools sama sa planer, drill, grinder, Triton Paints, construction supplies, angle bars, flat bars, GI pipes, automotive spare parts, Firefly electrical devices sama sa switches, bulbs ug outlets. Adto ang Riverside Parts Master Incorporated sa ilang bagong pwesto sa Dalan, Burgos ning syudad. Makahangyo ka o makabarato pagyod diha sa Riverside Parts Master Incorporated.
Sipon plus baradong ilong na may kasamang pananakit ng ulo? Pre, ba't ka nagtitiis? Kung meron namang Calabo Premium Rub, Calabo Premium Rub, isang pahid lang, nanunuot ang sarap sa pakiramdam sa ulo, ilong at sarap sa may ginhawa. Tandaan, basta sipon na may kasamang sakit ng ulo at baradong ilong, magpahid lang ng Calabo Premium Rub. Mabisa, kaya sigurado. Gawa ng Jesser Marketing. Mabibili na ngayon sa mga butika. Ang kapingot sa ilong nga imong giantos, hasol kaayo kini, hilabi na kung apilan ng pagsipon nga lisod tang tangon. Sulay higala ang gahom sa Calabo Premium Rub. Ipahid palibot sa imong ilong. Aron ang gahom sa Calabo Extract inumanan sa malunggay and virgin coconut oil manuhot-suhot kini. Calabo Premium Rub, ang sulbad sa pingot nga ilong. Calabo Premium Rub is a quality product of Jesser Marketing.
RPN Radio Philippines Network. Radyo Ronda DXKS Surigao. Member, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Welcome back. This is Politics as usual. I'm Ruth Cabal. Our next guests, former Senator Orly Mercado and analyst Richard Haydarian. Good evening to you, gentlemen.
Good evening, folks.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening, Orly.
Good evening, Richard.
Sir Orly, I'll start with you. As a former senator, what can you say about the new Senate composition under the 19th Congress, the upcoming 19th Congress?
Lagi ko nadidinig yung majority, super majority. You know, nung nare-establish ang, pardon my going back to history, but you know, hindsight is important. Ganon din ang question baka wala mag-object sa inyo. 24 kami kandidato, 22 won. Ang minority lang nun, si Johnny Ponce Enrile at saka si Erap Estrada. So, people are saying, what kind of a Senate would that be? There should be a super majority, etc. It was President Koreakin who said, don't worry about that. These people, you have 24 independent republics, dyan manggagaling yung opposition. Kaya napaka-importante maintindihan sa majority na disagreement does not necessarily mean disloyalty. You can be part of the supermajority and any practical politician will join the majority. How can you get your committees? How can you get your work done? How can you pursue your advocacies? Unless you are in the majority, these are critical. So the realities, nagbabanggaan yung realities of politics, and when to speak out because you think that it is in the public interest, and you are actually helping the majority and helping the administration by pointing out things that are going wrong or are askew.
So looking at the composition now, Senator, anong tingin niyo po doon sa, even with the nuance, yung binanggit niyo kanina halimbawa na they would join the majority because of, their advocacies. I think I heard si incoming Senator-elect Tulfo saying that also, no? Na parang he's joining the majority because of his advocacies also and yung committee chairmanship. Yung mga tao po mismo o yung nanalong senador ngayon, what do you think?
See, we sometimes lose our focus on what the role of the Senate is. It's a policy-making body. It is a deliberative, collegial body that makes laws. And you're not a rubber stamp. You have a mandate. You're elected by an electorate, the same electorate that elects the president and the vice president. So that gives you the important role of supporting legislation that will actually help our people in the end and can hopefully be easily passed, and that's fine. In a government wherein there is a meeting of minds between the policymaker and the policy implementer, unlike its fusion in a parliamentary form of government. Ang importante rito, naintindihan natin na ang objective dito is to make laws kasi mambabaw yung understanding ng sinasabing, majority yan eh. Ibig sabihin, wala lang mag-o-object. Sino pa mag-o-object? You're generalizing. Because I'm sure from the senators, there will come out people who will really disagree. And they will break away when they feel they cannot sacrifice their principles.
Okay. Let me ask si Professor Hidarian, what do you think about the looming supermajority in both houses?
Well, this is not anything new, right? This is what we also got in 2019. In fact, in 2019, the opposition did even worse, right? Not a single one from opposition made it. At least this time, you could argue at least one with Rizal Ontiveros. In fact, more if you bring in Chizo Escudero and others who were part of the Grand Alliance of the opposition. But the question is, what do you do with this supermajority? President Duterte didn't make much out of it. I think everyone was thinking, now that you have supermajority, they're going to railroad the constitutional change, etc. It didn't happen, right? So it depends how the coordination is going to happen. And let's not forget, we don't have real political parties in this country. The Unity Team is not a political party. It's a tactical alliance. And the thing with tactical alliances is that whether lang yan. So it's very possible that they were together during the election campaign. In the case of Zubir, he defected to the other side, and we understand why this stuff are happening. But later on, as the Senate kicks off and important issues, high-stakes issue come into picture, I think that's where magkakaalaman na kung sino talagang majority, sinong hindi. I think there are going to be roughly three kinds of groups. There are going to be the yes men and yes women. Let's just be honest about it. We're not going to name names. And then there are going to be people in the middle who are going to try to, have it both ways. Some could call them fence-sitters or independents. And then there are going to be those who are going to feel, well, if the next administration is not as effective or if the public opinion is shifting, maybe they'll gravitate more towards opposition. I mean, so far, Rizal Ontiveros is clear as the opposition won. But I think there'll be more and more down the road if the incoming administration doesn't live up to the expectations. I mean, the expectations are really high on incoming President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. So in that sense, it may look like a supermajority on the surface, but the coherence of that, the crystallization of that is highly questionable in light of the fact that we have no political parties. But the trend lines is clear. Since the reintroduction of democracy in 1986, 1987, the situation of political dynasties in the Philippine Congress has deteriorated. We went from around 60% in 1987 to more than 80% in 2013. And now, bati sa Senado, meron magkapatid. Dalawa pa yata yung magkapatid. Meron mag-ina. So even the Senate, which used to be the august body, a little bit above the fray, the training ground of the next president, we see that the broader trend lines in the lower house is also affecting them. So that tells you about the regressive trajectory of Philippine democracy for that matter.
So sa tingin mo, it will still be independent, as yung sinasabi ni Senator Orly na you have 24 republics pa rin. In the last Senate, we saw na hindi nag-materialize yung halimbawa, the death penalty, reimposition of the death penalty, charter change, and then they conducted an investigation on ABS-CBN and other
Depende yan.
controversial
So there are
issues.
going to be issues whereby you need majority, right? So you need more than 12, for instance. And then there are going to be issues whereby you need supermajority, 2/3, for instance, constitutional change, right? So siguro dun sa iba, baka majority is now more doable, especially if Ferdinand Marcos plays it well with the leadership here and there. Zubiri was part of the campaign, etc. But I think that on the supermajority part, baka medyo mas mahirapan ng incoming administration. So hindi given na porkit konting opposition, magiging supermajority on all issues. So I think the devil is in the details. So the more high-stakes issues, the more potentially divisive, that's where magkakaalaman sino ba talaga ang yes man at sino ba talaga more independent.
You have to see them talagang buckle down to work. Now, we'll continue our discussion. We'll be right back after a quick break. Stay with us.
SMC San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement. Gama sa Davao, para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement. Ato ni Bay.
Maayong balita sa tanan sa atong panginahanglan sa panimalay, mga gamit, ingon man mga dekorasyon, pwede na natong mapalit diha sa Wellington Bazaar. Anausab sa Wellington Bazaar ang mga bestidahon, karsunison, plain t-shirt, plastic chair, floor mat, mantel, banig, folding bed, habol, mosketero, trapal, lideret, basketball, stuffed toys ug mga dulaan sa bata. Ang Wellington Bazaar ana magalagad kanato sa Dalan Kaymo ning Dakbayan sa Surigao. Wellington Bazaar, gikan sa mga kawani ug tigdumala sa Wellington Bazaar. Mayong adlaw alang kaninyo. Wellington Bazaar, sukiyon ta sa kanunay.
Uy, day! Naunsa man ka, day?
Day, kanang glisod na mo kakita, day. Uy!
Sus, naunsa ba ka? Uy nga, katong ni aging bulan. Okay pa man ka. Naunsa day karon?
Laot siguro ni sigunit aning cellphone ka ng si computer, day.
Da, mo lagi na akong ingon ba? Uy, day, nakoy balita para sa imuha. Gamit og Lutein Plus, uy.
Lutein Plus?
Oo, tungod ang Lutein Plus, day, duna kini 13 ka ingredients. Hindi lang kini para sa mata, kundi sa imuhang tibuok lawas. Nga maka-assist pod sa imuhang anxiety ug depression.
Ang Lutein Plus, usa ka award-winning brand nga gikan pa sa New Zealand.
The award-winning supplements from Clean Green, New Zealand Omega Plus nag-support sa heart and blood system. Ang Lutein Plus ay 13 ka mga ingredients, lakip ng vitamins A and C. Dili lamang kung maradyaw sa itong pananaw, nag-support sa bini sa ato intirulawas. Ning panahon nga diyari kita kuman sa COVID-19 pandemic, kinahanglan magpabilin kitang himsog inom sa Lutein Plus, Omega Plus, and Primrose Plus Soft Gel. Inintanan available din sa New Family Drug, Palma Drug, sa Aquarian Pharmacy.
Kalabo with garlic plus lemongrass and turmeric. Maayo kini alang sa mga naganto sa high blood. Kung perming kasakit ang imong tangkugo, kung masobraan ka og kaon sa mga lami ang pagkaon, basig ning tukar na ang imong high blood. Pagtumar higala og kalabo with garlic plus lemongrass and turmeric. Usa ka capsule bago mo gaon aron siguradong protektado kang kanunay. Kalabo with garlic plus lemongrass and turmeric. Masaligan og siguradong epektibo batok sa high blood. Kalabo with garlic plus lemongrass and turmeric. Kalabo with garlic plus lemongrass and turmeric is a quality product of Jesser Marketing.
RPN Radio Philippines Network. Radyo Ronda DXKS Surigao. Member, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
We're on our final stretch. Still with us, former Senator Orly Mercado and analyst Richard Haydarian. Sir Orly, let's talk about minority. How important is it to have a minority in every Congress? Yes.
You know, sa parliamentary form, lalo na katulad sa Great Britain, ang tawag sa opposition is Her Majesty's Loyal Opposition. That means that when you disagree, you're not really being disloyal. In fact, you have a very important function, and that is, as a senator, whatever party you belong to, is to point out where things are going wrong, especially in a country where, like ours, where our democratic institutions have not yet taken roots in many areas. And we are still battling the scourge of corruption. I think it is very important that we have these checks and balances. Because if you abdicate that, you're a political leader, somebody else will take over. And it will be taken over, like media will take over to do the fiscalizing, etc. While within the institution, whether there are charges later on that are filed, etc., and sometimes there are complaints, you're investigating in aid of re-election and not in aid of legislation. But let us not go into motives. But I agree also that cooperation between the legislative and executive branches is critical. I think we still have memories of the LEDAC discussions during the time of President Ramos, and that has worked. There were critical issues, and today we are facing very critical issues. Kung mapapalabas natin yung mga batas mas mabilis. Pero napakabigat existential issues climate change, yung power issue, dependence on oil, etc. Our problems with food prices, etc. All of these things require cooperation. If Congress can pass it fast and implement, and the executive branch can implement it faster, then we're fine. Because the problem with legislation also is that you have many laws that are not funded properly and implemented well. It is in the implementation. It's another world. And meron function din ang Senate, even the House of Representatives, of oversight. And you also approve the budget, and that gives you the leverage to be able to demand and question, demand the information, and find out how, give the evidence that they're spending the funds properly. These are very critical issues for governance, and I think we should not lose the sight of it. Whether at times you cooperate, etc. Tayo kasi, bakit ngayon, nung araw, kalaban ng presidente, bakit ano? Let's all think and focus on what is going to be achieved and what should be achieved.
Professor, Sir Orly told us yung important role ng minority. Ngayon, sa tingin niya sa lineup ngayon, who could best lead the minority? Senator Ontiveros is saying they're talking to 3 or 4 people, and then Senator Coco is saying he's possibly joining the minority.
Yeah, we had a big surprise, right? Everyone's thinking Cynthia Villar, she would be in a strong position. She topped the race in 2019. But Mig Zubiri, he came from behind and he eventually ended up there. So I think the internal conversations on collegiality, to be able to work with each other is very important. I remember very well a few years ago, I was talking to one of the opposition senators. He was saying, I and Tito Soto don't agree on everything, but in fairness to him, the way he handles, he creates this essentially a venue and platform for proper and respectful exchange. That was very important in his selection as a Senate President. So I think the same thing will apply in terms of also minority leader or majority leader and other factors like that. And of course, many would hope that at least Riza Ontiveros will be in some sort of leadership position, considering the fact that against all odds she was able to achieve this position, and that she's the closest to a crystal clear opposition for that matter.
And then sa tingin niyo ba, who could possibly join them with the roster now? Because they're saying 3 to 4 others. They're talking to 3 to 4 others.
Yeah, I heard Senator Cayetano. Escudero. Yeah. A number of this, let's call them more centrist, independent-minded folks. Cayetano was very strongly aligned with President Duterte, but the same thing doesn't apply with President Marcos Jr., right? Yes, so I think, and then with Chizo Escudero, in fairness, he was part of the opposition. I remember on election day, he said that he voted for Lenny. So he's very clear about his preferences for the opposition. Maybe a lot of folks on the other side underestimate his independence or his opposition leaning. So I think this is a chance for them to work it out. But I think Riza definitely is the face of what is closest to the opposition. I completely agree with Orly. I think in our country, there's a misunderstanding of the role of the opposition or what is checks and balances. Because either we go into loyal opposition in the wrong sense, yung kunyari lang opposition.
Or yung maingay talaga.
Or obstructionist. Yeah. When the reality is that a true opposition is somewhere in the middle. You're not obstructionist, but you're going to check the excesses of the other side. So may mga issue, tama si Carly, na for instance, yung economic recovery natin, this is a big issue. Climate change is a big issue. if you look at the proposal ni Marcos, yung mga gusto niya priorities sa incoming budget, he's now been given the prerogative to have some say. It's all economics and recovery and health. And I think on that issue, dapat hindi obstructionist ang opposition or shouldn't come off as obstructionist. That's political suicide. But there are going to be other issues. Historical revisionism, denialism, constitutional change, major contentious. Let's look at that. Robin Padilla is going to take over constitutional amendments. That's going to be something interesting. Everyone's going to watch out. Anong kinalabasan yan? Magiging amendment ba ito or constitutional change altogether? So I think that's where we can have a more healthy checks and balance process and proper exchanges within the Senate.
You already mentioned some of yung possible priority legislation. Siguro, last question for you gentlemen. What do you think our kababayans can do to demand accountability from both the Senate and the House, that they're supermajority right now? We start with you, Sir Orly.
Well, one of the things that has not also been fully understood is the investigations that are made by the committee, which is nicknamed the Blue Ribbon Committee, Committee Investigations. Anong napaka-importante niyan eh. And in fact, dapat sinusuportahan yan ng Malacanang eh. Kasi you cannot watch out for everybody. And you cannot also cover up and give a blanket instruction na akong bahala sa inyo. Sapagkat dito sa mga napaka-importanteng bagay ng paggasta ng pera ng taong bayan, dapat talagang we can make sure that we are held, men and women who are given the responsibility are held accountable. So sa akin, I think in the final analysis, our opposition and positions, whether you're in the opposition or the majority, can change, but it must change only largely because of the fact that you are following the interest of the greater majority of our people.
Professor.
Yes, Senate is extremely important. This has been traditionally the training ground of not only fiscalizers. I mean, people say all sorts of things about sino nagtatop ng Senate races in the past decade or so. But let's not forget, we had people like Jovito Salonga who topped the race not once, but 3 times. I mean, human rights people, PhD Yale. I mean, those were the kind of people who elected to the Senate. But I'm not saying sila lang dapat. But we need fiscalizers inside the Senate. People who are going to be bastions of independence, who are going to stand for the rights of the people. And yun nga, minsan feeling ko hindi na nataan ano ba talagang trabaho ng legislator. Hindi sila mayor, governor, or presidente, right? At the same time, of course, we also need people to work together on important issues and so that we can find a kind of functional consensus to get ourselves out of all of the challenges we're facing as a country. And lastly, I don't know, I think if you're Marcos Jr. with all of those stereotypes of what the Marcoses could bring about, authoritarian, I think if a Senate is effective and shows independence, that's also good for Marcos. That's good for our democracy and it's something positive that we can all build on.
Thank you very much to our guests tonight. And as we've been told before, don't talk politics at the dinner table or at a family reunion or in Viber groups and risk digital warfare. But we can talk about it here at this table on this show, your weekly political appointment fix, politics as usual. I'm Ruth Cabal, sitting in for P. Ontiveros. Catch the next episode of Politics as Usual on Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Good evening.